Welcome to another episode of DrillDown Dialogue, where I'm Stephen Nance. I'm the Vice President of DrillDown Solution, and our mission here at DrillDown Solution is to empower business owners to achieve greater wealth and more freedom. And this DrillDown Dialogues is one of the ways we help support that mission by educating our clients and our contacts of other ways that they can receive help for their business, in addition to what we do on a day-to-day basis through our tax and accounting solutions. And today I'm joined with a very special guest, Mr. Elijah Desmond. Elijah, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good. It's good to be with you again. Elijah, many people know you, some don't. Give us a little background. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, absolutely. So my first background, I would like to say, is I have two beautiful little girls, 6 years old and almost 11, and a beautiful wife down here in Wellington, Florida. I'm a dental hygienist by trade. I haven't practiced in a very long time, but I do have a clinical background. I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of those things. Serial entrepreneur. But I also would love to say my why, because I think it's important to know who you're talking to and what their why is prior to hearing what they have to say. And my why happens to be saving kids' lives and saving kids' lives from the stage. And that's something that I do in the non-dental world. I have events called motivational concerts where I go and speak to 7 to 10 high schools, and I get an opportunity to save many lives. So the last one was last month. I saved 6 lives, and we motivated and inspired many other kids from my event. So that's my purpose, my passion, and I happen to have a knack for dentistry as well. So background as a consultant, I stopped consulting in 2018. I've had many businesses, about 20 businesses in total. You can probably learn a lot more from the businesses that I failed at, which is about 7 of them, compared to the businesses that I sold. I've had 7 successful companies sell. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I wasn't planning on talking about this, but your motivational concerts, you posted about them, and I shared your post to educators because that's part of the target audience and schools. And that very same day,
Hmm.
my wife and I get a text from our daughter. She witnessed a shooting suicide at her school, on a field trip at her school that very same day. So that really hit home,
Mm.
the importance of suicide awareness,
Yes.
kindness, and all the things that you're doing, not just on a business level, but the good that you're doing in the world is just really cool.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And I'm gonna put it like this. Um, that awareness needs to be carried over into the dental industry as well. And sometimes dentistry can be very stressful, and some dentists could do a worst case scenario like that and take their own
Yeah.
life. So I'm here to make the world a better place, both at with high schools, and then also in dentistry, and relieving some of the stress from the dentists as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think dentistry it's been up there in number one, number two, number three in highest suicide rates
Yep.
for professions, which is crazy. But I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, and we could tangent into that. But the bigger point is that there's help and there's opportunities. I mean, an amazing profession of opportunities. Speaking of that, what are the opportunities and solutions that you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we switch gears and let's talk about de-stressing the dental office, essentially, and your dental practice. First off, I'll go ahead and say that the day-to-day can be stressful. Hiring, it's very difficult to get good team members nowadays, and it's even more difficult to keep them around. And this running the business can be difficult. Some people are really good at it, some people not as good as others, but at the end of the day, our solution specifically is getting practices prepared to sell. So I have a sell side brokerage firm, and the sell side brokerage firm helps dentists that are looking to make an exit. We work extremely well with dentists they don't want to stop practicing right yet. They want to continue to practice for, say, 3 to 5 more years, but they don't want to handle the business part. So we have now close to 80 very sophisticated buyers in our network. So who are those buyers? Those buyers are DSOs, small DSOs, mid-sized DSOs, large DSOs, private equity, and then we also have hundreds of private practice dentists. But for dentists that are looking to stay on board and get by far the highest amount for their practice, the DSO market is definitely a space to look at. So we have like I said, almost 80 of them that we bid the practices to get the top dollar. And what's even more important than the top dollar is the best terms of the agreement, the best terms of the sale.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more. What is different about your approach than other brokers?
Well, there's many things. I'll start with the most fun thing. The most fun thing is that we have in-person events. You do not have to go to them, by the way. Let me be very clear. But we have in-person events. It speeds the process up. And what happens is we have the dentist fly out to a live event, and we have very specific buyers fly out to the live event that could be interested in buying your practice. And we basically have 10 buyers in one room. And then we have you as the seller. You enter the room. You can have a walk-on song. Everybody is clapping, and you get to the stage, and you're basically interviewed by myself and my business partner about your business. Like, why did you become a dentist? Why are you interested in selling your practice? How long are you interested in staying working? Is it 2 years, 5 years? Is it 10 years or more? And this question so they can get to know you. And then after we ask you those questions, the buyers will then ask questions that they have. Now, their financials are already, your financials as a dentist are already sent to them in advance. And they already know all about your practice, like the numbers. So they're not going to ask any financial questions, but they will ask any other questions that they would like. And after you're done with the questions, the buyers basically write down on a sheet of paper if they're interested in meeting with you. So you may have 10 potential buyers in one day. So the process is very streamlined. And so since that process is streamlined, you get to meet with them for, say, 30 minutes each. And then afterwards, we then negotiate the best deal for you. Now, that sets us apart, and nobody is doing that. Imagine like Shark Tank, but it's for dentistry. And I also understand that not everybody wants to do that, and it's totally okay. We could do it the traditional route where we send it out to all of our potential buyers, and we work that route. So that's the first thing that sets us apart. Another thing that sets us apart is that in our industry, in the brokerage space, there are many brokers, I'll say 50 to 60%, that will do valuations on your practice. Now, those valuations are not actual quality of, it's not a quality of earnings light. Okay, so a valuation is looking at your financials and then giving their thought of how much that you essentially deserve to be paid for your practice. Now, that has absolutely no bearing on the buyer. The buyer actually is going to do a quality of earnings on your practice and actually see what is your true adjusted EBITDA. What is your net profit? This is after you're paid and after everything that are one-time expenses are added back, essentially. And so oftentimes the valuation, more times than not, is wrong. It is very off. And what happens is you as the seller get your hopes up, and the buyer is going to give you something that's a lot less. It's not what you were looking for. So what we do differently is we actually we work with about 4 different third-party companies to do a quality of earnings light. That's what the buyer's already going to do. So we actually get down into your numbers and know exactly what your adjusted EBITDA is. And the maximum that we've ever been off is by 5%. Okay, so it's very accurate. So we then go to the buyers and say, we've already got a quality of earnings light done from a third party. Now we're negotiating on what is the multiple of that number, or the multiple of EBITDA. So for example, if you had $500,000 of net profit, right, or adjusted EBITDA, we're now going to dental practices saying, are you going to pay 5 times multiple, meaning 5 times 500,000 is 2.5 million? Are you going to pay a 5.5? Are you going to pay a 6? Are you going to pay more than a 6? So it's the multiple of EBITDA that we're negotiating on that is within a fair range. We're not negotiating, we're not basically saying here's what we think it's worth. We're negotiating on the net profit and the multiple of the net profit. So that's a huge thing. Majority of brokers don't do that. And we set ourselves apart, and it makes it so the buyers really want to work with us and will respond to us during when we send out your opportunities. Also, we will not take money from the sell side, the buy side rather, because we are a sell side broker. A lot of sell side brokers, they take money from the other side, and it is legal, it is okay. However, it's a gray area because if I'm getting money from the buyer, that means I'm going to probably push you to this buyer. Well, we don't take money for buyers. We tell the buyer to give that percentage to you, give you that, so you're able to get the max dollar, and we have no conflicts in any capacity. So that's another thing that completely sets us apart. And I want to say the last thing is our team. There's one thing to just be like a business person or a business broker. There's another thing to have a complete all-star team like us. So on our team, we actually have 2 dental professionals. Both of us are hygienists that got into the business world. So we understand clinical, we understand culture and team. We get it. And then you have myself as well, who I've personally sold 7 businesses. And I've personally been a dental consultant. So as a dental consultant, I understand what it takes to grow and make your office thrive. So I understand everything when it comes to building a practice to sell a practice. And you're not just talking to somebody who is a business broker that only understands outside the practice. And then we have our mergers and acquisitions team. Some of the people on our team that have been with us, that are with us, have been in the M&A space, in the investment banking world for 25 plus years. And then you have our team as well that owned or has owned 75 dental practices. So they've been on the buy side as well because they created their own DSO. Real estate is a huge background of my team as well. We have a huge commercial real estate business, and we're just very versatile. And you look at our board of advisors, you're seeing some of the top people in the entire industry, such as Brian Kaleo. We have the founder of Clear Choice, the founder of DCA, Amon Kaur with the women in DSO. I mean, we literally have a stacked all-star team.
Yeah.
So that makes us way different than so many other of the firms. And that's not dissing on the firms by any means. That's just saying how we stack up against them.
Awesome. So when you mentioned the term differentials, so other than the multiples and the actual price tag, what are some of the biggest term differentiators that sellers are getting?
How much money are you getting up front?
Okay.
A lot of a very common misunderstanding is that a lot of the buyers think they're getting 100% of their money. It's not happening. Potentially, if you sell to a private practice dentist and you take a less amount, potentially, okay? But for the most part, you are not getting all of your money up front. So it's our job to get you as much as possible. What is standard in this environment? I would say minimum 50%, maximum 70%. Take that back.
Okay.
I would say actually it's more like groups could attempt to pay you as low as 30%.
Okay.
We would never go for that. So our norm, our standard, we won't work with people that are offering that. There's a lot of groups that will offer you 30% of your practice. It's just not a good deal. But right now, fair industry standard is between, say, 50 and 70%. Could you get 80? Potentially, if you sell to one of the right couple of groups. So that's one thing. How much money are you getting up front? What's another thing? How long are you staying? Right? That's a huge term. And how long do you have to stay practicing? 4 or 5 days a week before you go to 3 days. Like, how long are you going to stay? That is a very important term. Some doctors, they want to stay for over 5 years. Some want to be gone in 2 or less. That's a very important term. Another important term is the earn out. Okay. So let's just say somebody purchases 100% of your practice. Okay. Well, let's just say the maximum possible that we could ever get you is say 80%. Well, 20% is held back. Okay, and so you have an opportunity to get a earn out, meaning that you'll get the rest of the 20%, but all you have to do is maintain EBITDA. So that's all you have to do is maintain EBITDA, and you don't even have to grow it. Naturally, it's going to grow, but you can maintain EBITDA.
Hmm.
So that earnout is very important. Could be 20%, could be 30%, typically not more than 30%. Also, there's something called an earn up. So maybe
Hmm.
you had a bad year. You're like, that was a fluke year. I got a hip surgery. I was out for 2 months. The numbers are just always better than that. And what they'll say is okay, no problem. However, we're going to pay you as if you had that bad year, but you have the opportunity for an earn up. So once you hit that number within a 24-month period, like a 12-month rolling and a 12-month period, then we will actually give you that extra amount that you are stating. So like earn up is another opportunity. Another term. What's another term? Another term would be, let's just say you want to invest into the holdco, to the main company. So say they have a big group. You want to invest in the holdco. Well, maybe you want to invest 5%, 10%, or 20%, maybe 30. That's a term of the agreement.
Yeah.
So there's and that's just part of it. Like, Brett, there's so many different terms
Right.
to the agreement, and a lot of people they lose money because the terms are not written correctly or they're not maximized.
And I'm sure you know which ones are the good ones. That equity rollover piece is probably a big differentiator, I imagine. And some of them are structured differently. Some of them you're investing in the parent company. Some of them you're maintaining some ownership in your practice specifically, right?
Yes, and I like that one the best, especially for dentists that are not done. We just sold a practice and they actually bought 60% of the practice, so that dentist was able to extract 60% of their practice, which was a large number. It was almost a couple $1 million, and 40% of their practice they kept. So let me
Yeah.
go ahead and explain the big picture here. Is that let's just say you just need help. You need help with your marketing. You need help like keeping your team members or growing team members, HR. You want help with the front office. So you want help with, call centers, revenue cycle management, etc. You want help running the business, okay?
Hmm.
But you think that there's so much more room for growth, okay?
Yeah.
So what happens is you keep a part of the business called JV. So you keep 40% of your business and you sold that for 60%. Let's just call it a 6 times multiple. Okay. So let's just make this easy. Let's just say that the practice is $1 million and the practice was now let's take it back even further. They sold for a 6 times multiple of EBITDA and they kept 40%. When that company that bought them, when they recap or when they sell themselves, right? When they sell, they have way more practices than you, right? You're just one practice. They might have 100 practices. Well, when they sell, they could sell at a 12 times multiple, okay? Because they have so many practices. The more practices, the more the EBITDA, the higher the multiple. So if they sold for a 12 times multiple, what happens is the 40% that you have, instead of getting the 6 times multiple that you got on the first sale, you get a 12 times multiple. So you get double that, okay, for your 40%. And so that's the reason why a lot of JV models work, because that second
Yeah.
financial windfall. And sometimes there's a third financial windfall, right? Sometimes maybe they only sell 20% the first time, and then they sell the next 20% the next time.
And do you get involved into advising the dentist, the selling dentist on different options? If the buyer may not have as good of a track record, you might say, hey, just take as much cash as you can on this deal, or vice versa, or something like that.
Absolutely. So first off, we don't, anytime that we hear the horror stories,
Hmm.
we steer away from those buyers, and
Yeah.
also there's always two sides to every story, right? If it's a consistent story that keeps popping up, we will
Yeah.
not work with those buyers. But as a general rule of thumb, we always have them take as much off the table as possible.
Yeah.
It just makes
It's
sense.
less unknown if you take cash when you can.
Yep, there is less unknown. And some people are risk takers. We are not.
Sure.
We're not risk takers. We want to look out for the best of the financial future of the dentist. So
This has been really enlightening. Of course, I've known that you do this for a long time, but it's really cool to hear, and this is a discussion that is not going away. This is on everyone's mind, whether they're ready to sell or not.
Yes, absolutely. And a big mistake that I see is people that feel that they're not ready to sell because they're not ready to retire. And I think it's the
Right.
worst decision that somebody could ever make. Number one, you should always be sell ready. So
Mm,
you should have your numbers already. You should know your EBITDA. You should intentionally increase that EBITDA, and you should always be sell ready. And you shouldn't wait until you're ready to retire. Sell
right.
3 to 5 years prior to being ready to retire. And I'm going to tell you,
Right.
when you sell and you sell to the right group, you're going to feel almost like you're retired because you don't have the stress anymore. The stress is
Yeah.
gone. The stress is gone of being, the person who has to make all the decisions. The stress
Yep.
is gone of having to run the business, and so it's a lot easier whenever you don't have to run the business. And so don't wait until it's too late to call. Also, don't go directly to a buyer. Buyers are nonstop reaching out. I'm sure your emails are blown up all the time.
Mhm.
Do not do it. They're going to tell you what your EBITDA and your adjusted EBITDA is. Okay. They're in
Mhm.
the business of making money.
Yeah.
You need to have representation. You need to have support. You need to have somebody that is negotiating. One of my friends that I was not that I wasn't the broker for, um, I actually ended up becoming the broker and selling the practice for them. But they signed a contract. They signed an LOI specifically. And the LOI with the buyer stated that if any of the numbers were not correct that were sent over to them, and if they didn't end up selling to them, they could charge them for their time at a maximum of $50,000.
Mm.
Like, they didn't know any better. And by the way, just because you send somebody numbers doesn't mean that they have to be accurate or they're right. It's not that you're intentionally misrepresenting, but you could,
There's errors. There's
yeah,
yeah.
there's errors. It's stuff. It's just stuff that happens. Well, if you do that, they have the ability to come back and charge you 50 grand. And if you don't sell to them, that's locking somebody up if you don't sell to them. So not having an expert that's an expert at looking at the LOIs, the letter of intents, okay,
Yeah.
is a mistake. Not having two buyers or three or more is a mistake. You need to have negotiating in powers. And look, another thing is I'd like to talk to everybody. Here's the thing: if we're not, put it like this, say if you're too small for us, if your numbers are not high enough, or if your EBITDA is not high enough. At Dental Pitch Brokerage, we have literally an entire book of people that we can refer you to get you prepared to sell, right? We have 45 to 50 resources to help you to grow your EBITDA, to grow your practice, to be optimized as a practice. Don't talk to a broker when you're ready to sell. Talk to us when you're actually like a year out, 18 months out, 24 months out, and then you have 3 to 5 more years. So you're talking about, we could be talking to people 5 to 7 years out and preparing them, not waiting until it's too late. And I'll go back to, people should always be sell ready. They should always be sell ready because you never know what can happen. I had an incident where a lady in Las Vegas called me because she lost her husband that was a dentist who was not sell ready. Practice wasn't even sellable after 3 months by the time they were prepared to sell. She didn't have any access to the
Yeah.
PMS software, to anything. And that dentist could have taken the chips off the table, 50%, 60%, 70%, and
Hmm.
sold. And so their family was okay, or they could have at least been sell ready. Being sell ready is so important.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man, that's a lot of great insights, Elijah. Anything else you want to leave us off with before we wrap things up here?
No, just reach out. Conversations are free. Reach
And
out.
and and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yes, I would say the best way would be going to our website at www.dentalpitchbrokerage.com. We actually have a free resource on there. We have a EBITDA handbook, and we have another book on growing your practice. Go down there and download the book and go to the website and schedule a time to meet, or you can reach out to me. directly is Elijah at dentalpitchbrokerage.com. I'm accessible on all social media platforms, but reach out. Conversations are free, and it's best to have them early.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Elijah. Have a
Yes.
great rest of your day.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Take care. Bye-bye.